Hi friends, it's Father Andrew. It is a lovely, slightly cloudy Saturday afternoon here in South London, and I thought I would treat myself to a little bike ride to get the limbs moving and clear the mind. And I thought I'd bring you along. And today I am really looking forward to at least one little hill climb to get my knees going again. I recently did a sponsored bike ride, Father Andrew 200 miles. You can still search it if you want to donate to our 200th anniversary building appeal at St. Peter's, Walworth. And it really made my knees feel 10 years younger. And I haven't been out for a ride for a wee while, so I thought, let me do that again. And so here we go. So I'm just crossing Albany Road into Burgess Park, which is one of my favourite places to begin any bike ride, because it's just such a lovely dose of nature and green and calm. And yeah, so here we go. Let's show you where we are. So here is my beloved Burgess Park. And it's always full of people sitting, walking, cycling, enjoying the space, gathering, and even on a sort of slightly cloudy afternoon, today is no exception. So one of the things I love about Burgess Park is just its sheer size. Burgess Park was created after the Blitz bombing of the Second World War, and it used to be lots of streets and roads and things. And it was converted into a park as part of a London-wide plan. And I think it was one of the only ones that was actually really converted into a beautiful big green space rather than just being built on again. So it's a great treasure. And there are just lots of different parts of it. So it sort of feels like a place where you can kind of get lost right in the middle of London. And you can, from lots of bits of it, you can only see trees, you can only see grass, and there are lots of little playground. That's one of my favourite ones, the woodland playground that my little boy loves to play in whenever we get the chance. But as I say, I'm heading for a hill climb. So I'm going to go to, I think it's called Grove Hill, which is one of the steepest hills nearby. And just realised I should have taken a slightly earlier turning, so I'm going to nip onto the road here and turn back. So yeah, and one of the things I love about London is like its diversity in every sense. And so even looking around here, you can see kind of older buildings, newer buildings. As a vicar, as a priest, I'm really interested in like communities. And of course, in the Church of England, the old phrase is that every blade of grass is covered by one of the Church of England's parishes. And in London, it's more like every road, every street. And so on the right here, we've got Evelina Mansions, which I think is a Peabody estate we've just gone past. And now on the right and on the left, we've got lots of brand new accommodation that I've seen built up over my last 15 years as rector of this parish and 4 years before that in a neighbouring parish. And yeah, it's just beautiful to think how many people actually live here and make, oh, you didn't indicate, no problem, no problem. There we are. As a cyclist, you have to be constantly with your hands ready on your brakes. But there we are. That was a nice interaction. Yeah. Nobody got cross. Everybody was human. And like even just watching people walk around and thinking, okay, what are you up to? I think vicars are naturally curious, or you could say nosy people. And you know, in my own parish, I'm very conscious that I have 11,000 souls, according to the census, of whom I have the cure of souls, as it's legally and pastorally known. This little narrow cut through here has recently been turned into cyclists only, which means that this road is much quieter and the one behind it. And as a cyclist and a driver, I have to say I really love these little cyclists only cut throughs, because it just does so much to make cycling easier, but it also means that a street like this has less pollution. And of course in London, air pollution is a serious problem, and we have to think quite carefully about how we protect our children. So we're turning now onto Vicarage Grove. You might or might not have seen the corner on the street there. And that's one of the other things I love about any community is, you know, why is it called Vicarage Grove? Well, presumably the vicarage was or still is there. And I think we're in the parish of St Matthew's, Camberwell now. We're coming on to Camberwell Church Street, which is clearly named for a very obvious reason. Clearly does what it says on the tin. Not sure if you'll see St Giles's Camberwell just there on the left. We're going right. And yeah, so here is Camberwell Church Street. You might see the spire of St Giles's there. If you're a vicar, the wonderful vicar, Father Nick, is retiring soon, so this would be a fantastic parish to come and apply for. And if you're not and you live in the neighbourhood, why not go in? You might know it actually for their Jazz in the Crypt nights. This is quite a busy junction. You have to hope that someone presses the pedestrian crossing button, as they have done now, which is going to mean that I've got a little break. And yeah, so we are going to head up. I think it's called Camberwell Grove. Let's see. Oh no, Grove Lane, I think it's called. And we've come through a sort of fairly mixed area. Yeah, Camberwell Grove, SE5, here we go. And I have to say, coming up here, I also realised like what a rich city London is. This street, Camberwell Grove, this hill, is absolutely full of really posh houses and yeah, cars not taking much notice there of squeezing through, and that one's shouting something obscene at me, even though it's clearly my right of way and he just wanted to squeeze around someone who was parking because he wasn't feeling very patient. Look, Mary Boast Walk there on the right. On the left, Churchyard Passage. These names tell such a story. On the right, Fred Francis Walk. Who was Fred Francis? And actually coming up, I think, is Grace Lane or something like that, which always makes me think of my granny Grace, who I loved. Yeah, Grace's Mews. There we go. And apparently mews are always the most, the poshest and the most expensive roads in London to live on. So yeah, okay. Starting to get a little bit out of breath now, and hoping that my knees are getting a good workout going up this hill. This hill is on the way to an orchestral course that my children sometimes do in the holidays, and cycling them up when they were young, I used to offer them a daddy boost, where I would put my hand on their back while cycling and just push them, give them a little bit of boost as they went. Oh, the light's on red. So that means I'm going to need to stop, which is a pain because it breaks my momentum. There we are. Change back down to the lowest gear. And at least it gives a little bit of a moment to breathe. Whew. So, yeah, the daddy boost. Oh my. The daddy boost up Camberwell Grove was a real thing. And it did once land me in, not in hospital, but with a hospital appointment to see the physios, because actually I stretched my arm and pushed too far. And it was at the same time of year that we were doing our winter night shelter for homeless people, which involved a lot of carrying tables with arms outstretched. And physios really are miracle workers. And I said to this physio, look, I've overdone it on my arm. I'm in my early 40s, and I was kind of like, will I ever be able to do any of this again? And she said, yeah. She said, the aim is, not only will you be able to do all of that again, but you'll be stronger once we've finished our physio. So I did all my exercises, and lo and behold, I got back to normal. I don't know whether I got back to stronger, but yeah. Now, the annoying thing, I think, about filming these things is you have absolutely no idea how steep this hill actually feels. Like, it's nuts. It's not the steepest hill in the world, that's for sure, but it is steep enough. And the thing is, it is long. So you're just going, going, going. And all the time thinking, I wonder who could live in a house like this. Except we are not going through the keyhole behind the doors of these big posh houses with private property signs and Mercedes and Audis sitting on the little private driveways. Now I'm slightly envious always of cyclists going down when I'm just coming up to the top. Whew. But it will be me going down at some point. So there we are. We're now on Grove Hill Road, having come up Grove Lane. I did also read once that actually lanes are also more expensive in the property world. Streets, roads, common or garden, but ooh, if you've got a lane or a mews, then that is posh houses and posh prices. So yeah, there we go. Anyway, so Grove Hill Road, SE5, here we are. And I was planning a slightly longer journey with my little Osmo Action 5 and my little Star Trek remote control to put the stats on. But my wife rang up and said that her cousin is up for doing a podcast. So podcast is one of the things. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go now. I think I'm going to go left, and we're going to go back home through Peckham and Burgess Park from the other direction. So podcast is one of the things that I'm often asked in comments. Are you going to do a podcast? Are you going to do audio books and various other bits and bobs? Okay, here we go. And I've never quite got round to things, but my daughter's been helping me with a couple of technical bits and bobs. And I've actually realised that the little DJI Action 5 Pro is a great tool for podcasting because the audio is good. And so I can put it on hopefully with video and with sound. So here we go, going down one of the steepest hills. Woohoo! Past Dulwich Sainsbury's there. Whoa, I'm just enjoying the ride here. Not even pedalling, just hands on the brakes. And coming up to, well, a red light, just changed, and East Dulwich Station. So we're coming into East Dulwich. I think this is Dog Kennel Hill. Ooh, M&S Simply Food. So East Dulwich is posh, and it's much posher than Walworth, where actually our M&S closed after 111 years, which was very sad for a lot of people. But yeah, coming into East Dulwich. I don't know which parish we are in now, but we're coming up on the left to St John's Goose Green. It's a lovely name for a church, Goose Green. And in fact, I think we'll cut through Goose Green. Maybe take a quick pause at the church to have a little look, because that's right next to the road. So off to the right is Lordship Lane, which is clearly very posh. And this is Goose Green. And there's nobody behind me, which is nice, this calm little side road here. But it's also another nice reminder Burgess Park is huge green space, but there are lots of, ooh, bumpy, lots of tiny little green spaces in London as well, which are also really beautiful spaces to walk through, to sit, to enjoy, to play. And it does kind of remind me, they sometimes say the Bible starts in a garden and finishes in a city. And London feels a little bit like it's both of those things. So here is St John's Goose Green. Let's just drive in for a moment. And yeah, it's a beautiful church right on Goose Green, as we just saw. I can't really tell you anything about it except that it's got this lovely hall where they also host a winter night shelter, which we've volunteered at before during COVID. And I've been to this church a number of times, but never actually known anything particularly about it. Afternoon, right, little war memorial here. And there we are, that is St John's Goose Green, and that's what they've got going on. Join the choir, little organ recital there on the 20th of September at 11 a.m, free and all welcome. So that could be a good thing. So let's get ready to go around the corner and arrive ourselves in Peckham. Now, so as we get ready to turn, I think there's a mural in that park. Yeah, there's a mural in that park called Vision of Angels. And it's a reminder that William Blake, who wrote the poem, which is sung as a hymn, Jerusalem, and did those feet in ancient times. This was his manor, and it was on Peckham Rye, that we'll see in a moment, that he saw his vision of angels. Angels in the trees, I think, of Peckham Rye. So, yeah, maybe we'll go through Peckham Rye. So, turning off Addy's Road onto East Dulwich Road and heading down towards Peckham Rye. Let me know if you've heard of any of these places in the comments. You may have done, you may not have done. And nice bike shop there on the corner, Balf's, I've been into there. Nice local bike shop. And actually coming down to Peckham Rye itself, this is one of the routes that we take when we go to funerals at Honor Oak Crematorium and Brenchley Gardens Cemetery, Camberwell New Cemetery. So there is Peckham Rye. And I'm just wondering what to do about getting into the park. I think we will walk as the pedestrian crossing is on. And then we can then we can have a little ride through Peckham Rye and see what's going on. Peckham Rye actually is another one of those lovely big parks where you can actually sort of lose yourself and feel like you're really in green space, and you can kind of always hear the sound of traffic. Unlike Burgess Park, but you do feel that you can lose yourself and be among the trees. Ooh, it sounds like there's a little reggae festival going on. Go and have a little listen to that. Of course, it is Carnival weekend here in London, Notting Hill Carnival. So nice to have some music here. And again, looking to the left here, not a great diversity of housing in London. Bigger estates, little estates, private homes, homes that you can see are really well looked after and homes that are not so well looked after. Ooh, nice little festival. Nice sound system. Look at those speakers. Oh yes. Good job I haven't got my wallet with me. There's a stall selling Jamaica t-shirts over here. Cobra Sounds. Cobra Sound System. Nice. Campaigners for truth and justice. Good stuff. Oh, I wish I'd known this was happening. I might have brought my wallet. Got myself a souvenir. Looks like someone's barbecuing in their backyard over there as well. So, police cycle riding by. Okay, friends. So, let's let these cyclists past. Afternoon, sir. Ooh, that sounds good. Oh, yes. They're going to have a great party this afternoon. Oh, I can smell that barbecue now. Really smell that barbecue. More people arriving. Nice style. This is a nice hill to come down. Don't know whether this road is actually called Peckham Rye. It may well be. So folks, I've said before, one of my favourite definitions of photography is to see what the world looks like photographed. And I have to say, I am just really enjoying this little DJI Action 5 Pro for just kind of, recording what life looks like and bringing anyone who wants to come along on these rides. And it's nice to get a little bit out of breath on a Saturday afternoon. Not something I do very often, actually, but I cycle quite a lot. There's a guy over there, he's carrying his golf clubs on his back, and not something you might necessarily expect to see right in the middle of London, but also just shows, shows what's possible, shows the diversity of London as well. Somebody running here. Here we are cycling. Yeah, and I had planned a longer bike ride today until I got this call from my wife saying, podcast time, which I'm really excited about. This is actually going to be my first proper organised podcast with her cousin, who's a very interesting person. And I'm planning a kind of Father Andrew and Friends podcast because I don't know about you, but I just love hearing about people's lives. I think people are really interesting. There's that nosy vicar spirit again. And I think it's nice to hear people and connect with their stories. And I've done the odd TikTok with people who I sort of grab here and there. But it'll be nice to do a little bit more an in-depth thing. And also, actually, to motorbike sounds. To also have a little bit of a time to talk to a wider variety of people. And if you don't follow me on TikTok and you'd like to, then go to father.andrew on TikTok and you can see what I get up to there. Slightly different content. And so here we are on Peckham High Street, which is one of my favourite places. So we're just going to turn around and we are going to carry on. And gosh, Peckham High Street is a great example of kind of, yeah, the changing landscape, not just in South London, I guess, but across London. Peckham's a fantastically diverse community, and historically, financially, close shave, financially quite poor, rich in culture, rich in energy, rich in spirit. But it is certainly changing. And, you know, some of the shops that you see and some of the restaurants that you see are a good example of that. After you, sir. So, the corner house there is what you might call a bit bougie for Peckham. And this little fruit stall on the corner on the right is a great place to get fresh sugar cane and all sorts of Caribbean products, which is also one of the beauties of Peckham. And on the right here, opposite McDonald's, is, well, our favourite cinema really, Peckham Plex, which is fantastic Peckham institution. If you've seen the film Rye Lane, you'll see that Peckham Plex features in there. And I really enjoyed watching Rye Lane in Peckham Plex Cinema. I went twice actually, once with the kids, once with my wife, who nearly killed herself laughing. And if you haven't seen Rye Lane, I really, really highly recommend it. It's a great film and great to get a good sense of Peckham and South London, London more generally, but yeah, it's a great representation of the black community in South London and beyond, and also Peckham life, and it's just a beautiful love story as well. I'm always struck by how you can have 1 million people standing waiting at a pedestrian crossing and no one has pushed the button to get the lights to change. My kids think it's hilarious, how hilarious I think that is, but there you go, and when you press the button the lights change, which is great. So we are coming up to Peckham Library here, which is like relatively new, like I remember it being built. It's had awards for its architecture. It's a lovely library inside with some really nice views. And on the left is Peckham Pulse Leisure Centre, which is a great leisure centre with a nice swimming pool, gym, the whole lot. On the right is Mount View, which is brand new really in my mind, although I think it was put up in lockdown. In fact, I remember in lockdown, I think on the way back from a funeral on my bike, noticing that they were open and stopping on a sunny afternoon for a very nice, very cold glass of white wine, which was a lovely treat in the middle of lockdown, just to be able to pause in the open, see what was going on. So this is the old Surrey Canal path. So this was a canal, and lots of goods were transported here, and there's a little image of that in the tunnel through Burgess Park under Wells Way. And so it's really nice thinking of, gosh, this would have been a waterway with canals. Not that long ago, actually, when you think about it. And this is one of the old canal bridges that we're coming up to. Very beautiful bridge, in a fairly decent state of repair. And again, this is one of the parts of Burgess Park where you're like, actually, you can hardly hear a car. Just the wind in the leaves. And the birds in the trees. Don't know if you can hear the birds, actually. And people coming and going where they are coming and going from. Glory be to God. And the pigeons doing their thing, ready to fly away, hopefully. Woo. And another canal bridge. This one says Mill Street Bridge, AD 1870. So actually that's really interesting. So that bridge was built during the history of St. Peter's Church, which was built in 1825. So I guess the Industrial Revolution was going strong at that stage. And the canals, of course, were a big part of that. So we're still on the Surrey Canal Path. And actually this part of London, which is now Camberwell and Southwark, this part of London was in the county of Surrey. And actually on the consecration plate for St. Peter's Church, it says in Latin, which is really interesting in and of itself. It says in Latin, Church of St. Peter, Walworth, in the county of Surrey. So it's really funny because I think of Surrey now as like the outer edges, not even of London. I don't think it's anything to do with London anymore. But it clearly was. Look at all the fruit on that tree, tiny little apples. I don't think they're crab apples. Yeah, so Surrey, imagine that. And in church terms, we're part of the Diocese of Rochester, which is basically Kent, well, Medway sort of area now. Okay, so we're crossing over. What is that road? I don't know what that road is. And back into our beautiful Burgess Park. And on the left and the right are our beautiful cherry trees, which are great for picking cherries. And on the right is a popular spot for people to sit and listen to music and enjoy the park. Generally tends to be reggae music coming out of that little corner as well. So what a beautiful tree-lined avenue, cherry tree-lined avenue to cycle or walk down or run down. This is where one of the legs of Burgess Park Run, which I haven't done for, oh gosh, at least a year, probably a lot more actually now. And what we're doing now is the home stretch of Burgess Park Run. So it sort of makes my legs feel tired. Just coming down here. This is the bit where you're trying to tell yourself, okay, this is the end, and I know I'm tired, but there is not long left. And if I can keep pushing, try and keep up with the person in front, then I might get a decent time, push myself. And we're coming up to the Bridge to Nowhere, which is one of my favourite features of Burgess Park. We like to do TikToks on top of there. And it was obviously, again, another canal bridge, but now it just has steps going up on one side and steps coming down on the other side. And it's been painted recently, which is really nice. Gosh, Burgess Park is absolutely rammed with people. You'd think that there was something going on, but I think everybody's just like, okay, it's bank holiday weekend. Let's enjoy the park. And why not? And that's the thing, there's so much space in Burgess Park that actually you can have millions of people doing their little thing and still have loads and loads of space. Yes. Etsarco Progressive Union. I wonder who that group is. And there's a big Latin American Hispanic community here in Southwark and around this area. And I think a lot of them are out today. And one of the lovely things in Burgess Park is when you see them practicing some of their traditional dancing in various little corners ready for festivals or whatever it might be. So we're back on the Surrey Canal Path and we are going to go down through the tunnel, which again must have been one of the bridges. And let's see if I can just show you some of the diagrams which show some of the things that used to be transported. So there we are. And coming up out of this tunnel when you're doing the park run is also one of the hardest things. Because you're suddenly going uphill. Now let's see. Okay, we're doing all right. I thought we'd paused video for a moment, so we're going to go back. But I tell you what, we'll go back a slightly different way because the roller skaters are here, and it's always nice to see what they're up to. And on the right is Peckham BMX Club, which I vehemently maintain should be renamed Walworth BMX Club now that it's no longer in Peckham. And this club is where Kai White, silver gold medalist, Olympic silver medalist, trained. And his dad, Mr. White, is still one of the tutors, one of the coaches, I guess, there. Oh wow, they're having a big team talk over there. So friends, we are right back where we started, on Albany Road, and about to head back onto Portland Street. And if I'm quick, which I am, just catch the lights, and we're coming back into the Aylesbury estate, which is absolutely my hood, absolutely my parish. And on the left is the building of the new Aylesbury estate. My kids went to nursery on the left there when it was the old Aylesbury. And on the right is the old Aylesbury. And let's turn right here and go through. And then I am nearly home and need to turn around into podcast mode, which is very exciting. And I have to say, I love the architecture of the Aylesbury estate. It's got its faults, and I can see some of the reasons why it's being knocked down and rebuilt. But actually, it's also got this huge sort of brutalist beauty in its architecture, which I really, really, really love. And some of these long lines of buildings are sort of beautiful in and of themselves, but also they really mean that often a lot of people really know their neighbours quite well. Along the rows of homes, which are like streets, just not at ground level. And that is one of the architectural problems, is at ground level you've got nothing going on, and so sometimes you get antisocial stuff going on. But as I say, very, very strong community in the Aylesbury estate. And I hope that will continue as it starts to be regenerated. And lots of very beautiful trees as well, mature trees. This one on the right is, I think, called Tree of Heaven. And it's called that partly because it just grows so quickly, and they really, 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 really do. You might recognise the Aylesbury from the old Channel 4 little segments that they used to have. And they were quite controversial because when they came and filmed them, they kind of chucked rubbish all over the place and hung washing lines up through the walkways, which aren't there at all. And yeah, we were not very pleased about that. And now coming on to really new Aylesbury. So this is the Harold Moody Medical Centre. I don't know enough about Harold Moody. I know that he was, I think he was of Caribbean origin, possibly Jamaican. And next to it, right next to it, purposefully, is the Una Marson Library attached to one of the new blocks of accommodation here on the left. And I don't know whether they knew each other, but Una Marson was a journalist, Jamaican journalist and author and civil rights campaigner. So it's very appropriate that they are together in name in this place. And I'm really pleased there's a new zebra crossing there. I am a big fan of zebra crossings. Power to the pedestrian, power to people. All of us on wheels can very easily stop to let people across, and zebra crossings are a great way of making sure that happens. And I hope this zebra crossing stays as well. So we're turning in now to Taplow, and this is where my doctor is, the Aylesbury GP, and we're going to go through the building. And this nursery on the left is also a play school, or whatever it was called, that my kids went to, Aylesbury Early Years Centre. It's been closed down for a good number of years now. And on the left is another view of the houses behind the Una Marson Library that have only been up and used for the last, well, since the last couple of years, I think, something like that. And finally nearly home on Aylesbury Road here. And on the left is one of my favourite sites in the allotments, these huge, huge banana trees. I don't know whether anybody's ever had a banana from these banana trees, but they are just beautiful. Structural, elegant, lovely, lovely things. Actually, there is a big flower there. Gosh, there are some mini, either bananas or potential bananas. I've got to show you this. Yeah, there are tiny, tiny bananas. I don't know if you can actually see that. Just at the top there above the flower. Well, I never. Behind those sort of big petals and in front of them. Goodness. What a surprise. So there we are, friends. Hope you enjoyed that little bike ride around South London. East Dulwich, a little bit of Peckham, and back to Walworth. And my phone is ringing now, which tells me it's time to get into podcast mode for real. So I am going to say goodbye and God bless. Please leave me a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care, friends. God bless.